I know you have to leave at 2:30, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, why don't you go?
Perfect.
Yeah, okay.
I grabbed this for you if you'd like a cello playing chair. I grabbed this for you if you'd like it, but
I'm not sure I'll be playing that anyway. Thanks. Very well played. Bravo, both of you. You have to leave by 2:30.
Yes.
Okay, we'll do the best we can.
Okay.
We were just a little bit delayed. Let's just talk about the very beginning. You know, Beethoven wrote a lot of themes. We won't go into all of them, but many familiar themes. The beginning of the last movement of the A major is the same. It has an upbeat quality, but in fact it comes in the downbeat of the bar.
Right.
The only problem I have with the idea of starting up bow is that if you play up bow and in the middle of the bar you change bow on the G and you give an impulse, it automatically creates the sense that in fact it's an upbeat. Whereas it's not an upbeat. It has an upbeat quality, but it comes in the downbeat part of the bar. So if you start up bow and you change in the middle of the bar, you have to be very careful that you don't add an extra impulse to the longest note of the bar, that's the G. And we sit on it because that's what Beethoven writes. And if you give it an impulse, then without knowing it sounds like dee-da-da-da. And I don't think that's what he would have meant then. I think therefore he would have written it that way.
Right.
59 number 1. Same thing. There's a million of those things. That was something that Beethoven kept going back to. So I'm not saying that it has to be played down bow, but if you use your bowing, you have to be at least aware of what that could sound like. The other thing is maybe you can play it up bow and in one measure. I'm not sure if you want to do that. So I mean, you have to figure out how you're going to handle that. Just in general, in the whole andante, I just noticed that there are a number of times that you change the bow rather frequently. Dee-da-da-da-dum. Beethoven writes of it under one slur. I don't think he's writing bowings, but I feel like, I mean, as a cellist who's played it, I'm not sure we need to change the bow as often as you do sometimes. If you feel it's necessary, for whatever reason, the sound of the room, the way the cello is responding, could be that you need more bow at a given moment. But I do think that it's worth at least, I'm not saying you didn't try, but it's at least worth living with some of those things long enough and see if it's really possible or not. If you feel it's not possible, then do change the bow, but you play dee-da-da-da-dum, and the next one you didn't change the bow. That creates a kind of confusion of phrasing, but because the figure is always that way. Dee-da-da-da-da, dee-da-da-da-da. So it's hard to know what exactly you mean by it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just seems like things don't necessarily belong in the same way. Okay, so let's go back from the beginning. Have you ever tried it just down bow?
Yes.
In one bow? Let's see what it sounds like. A lot of it has to do with faith and belief. It's true, but it's doable. the best for you to do. But it is doable. Do you sacrifice a little bit of opulence in the sound? Possibly. Is that important at that moment? You're playing alone. It's the beginning of the movement. It may not be. But there was a seamless quality that it had this time. I missed that a little bit the first time. Okay? Let's start from the beginning again. And let's go ahead. And just see some of those moments where maybe it's not necessary to change the bow as frequently as you did. It's clear that in this music, Beethoven is trying to create this seamless texture so that, in fact, who's playing what, one thing dovetails into the other. It should be, I think, that we're trying to create this tapestry where it's not really clear that the line ends here, it starts there, the cello's playing, the piano's playing. It's all meshed together. All of that is annihilated in the allegro. Everything that was circular, everything that was connected becomes angular and separated. I think that's an important part of what this music is about. And we haven't gotten there yet, but I just want to suggest, if you heard this for the first time, there would be nothing about the opening Andante that would tell you about what's coming next. There's not even a hint of it.
Right.
If you take a lot of time in between, do a nice breath, by the time we actually hear the A minor allegro, we've expected a change. Is there a way to connect those things so it still sounds like a surprise? That's my question. Let's start. Maybe instead of feeling eighth note pulses, feel a half bar. You know, we're in a 6/8 andante, but to me that automatically assumes there are other divisions possible. Could be groups of sixes, yes. There could also be half bars. Theoretically, even hemiolas, there aren't, but could be. He chose to write it in 6/8. There has to be a reason for that. But to me that automatically suggests that there could be a larger division in the bar, at least half bars. Yeah. Now it's just a question of distributing your bow differently. Because you actually have weight on your side in the lower half of the bow until you get away from the floor, less and less, okay. But you're using a lot of bow for the first notes. You may need more bow for the second half of the bar. Because that's when you have to increase pressure.
Right.
Then you need speed, and speed equals bow. So maybe save it at the beginning. Now, maybe you can start here. If you dare. If you just don't let the full weight of your arm down into the string, you can manage that. The moment you get into this position, yeah, that's going to be difficult to manage. No, so you can really sing it more than you might realize. You have the space to sing there. Okay, good. You could have used a little bit more bow for the first part. Good. And now that you're thinking in half bars, there's no hurry in the eighth notes. It's calm. He writes that, right? Teneramente. Dolce cantabile, teneramente. It's a lot of words. Beethoven doesn't usually write so many things like that. So I think something serene and something very dolce. So there's no hurry about the motion from one eighth to the other. Good, let's try that again. So that there isn't so much energy on the step. I don't mind the separation, it's not bad. But the way you did it, it gave much more energy to that single note than all the other ones. It's just an articulation. I'm not sure that note has much more energy than the others. Let's try your figure. Just your figure. Yeah. Now I think in Beethoven it's very important. I'm not saying that you don't, but I think it should be very conscious. He's very conscious about note values.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason always for it. Off. It's a chord.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should be a conscious chord. Therefore, you might want to vibrate it simply because you need to give life that lasts a whole quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Not against the idea of a harmonic, but even you felt 1/8 was enough of the harmonic. After that, you're thinking, this doesn't quite work anymore. You know what I mean? So maybe it should be vibrated. What about doing that all in one step too? Let's do that together. I mean, if for no other reason, it's more legato that way.
Right. Yeah.
That would appear to be what he wants. Let's try that and go on. Now, if you need to give a big sign, I think she can tell what you're going to do. Just play it. Whatever you need to do to change the bow, I think that's preparation enough to be able to follow it. Shift you just did, that B to F. Do you love it? Just could you play that B to F? Just the B to the F.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So we've got a tritone.
Mm-hmm.
We've got two consecutive fingers. There's almost no space between. Just listen to how that works expressively. Have a listen again. Do you find that a viable expression? I know it's a very popular one today amongst the young generation.
I'm not a big fan of the shift.
Oh,
to be honest.
Okay. Why don't you try 1/4? Yeah. Do you hear what that does to the expression when more space is left in between? The problem with the other type of shift is we're getting the whole journey right up to 1/2 step below. And then this click coming down. Da-ya-da.
Right.
It's a very popular connection today. I think we should think a little bit more on how it works. It's true. It's become the way of shifting today. It's very safe. It's very safe, it's very convenient, but it's not really expressive because simply of how it functions.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. After that, I'm only here to make observations and suggestions, not to dictate the best way. I know for me the best way, but I think that's something we all have to see.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wanted to clue in on that just because I think it's important. I'm looking at time, so I don't want you to be late. I think you don't need the extra bows there. You have to change somewhere, but somewhere you added some extra bows. Just to think about it. Again, it's worth trying. It's worth trying. I'll be the first one to tell you, Beethoven is not writing the bowings. He's writing phrasing ideas.
Mm-hmm.
It's our job is to figure out how we're going to bow. However, it's worth at least starting with that and seeing where you really need to change. And if there's any value in changing less, simply to create that sense of serenity and seamlessness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Can I just ask you to play the last bar?
Sure.
Those last two pizzas, going into the allegro, and think about the timing and how that could be more surprising. I think he writes the pedal mark all the way through, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I think it makes sense. If you could try it. Try down, down. That's cue enough.
Okay.
Boom. That gesture enough is clear enough to follow. You have to breathe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not possible to start that. Da, boom. That's enough cue, I think. But you still have to, your body has to react to something. Yeah. Now, in the Allegro, you know that because you see it just like I do. He doesn't always write that sforzandi, right?
Mm.
Now, is that important? To the extent that I don't think we can assume that he forgot.
Right.
Because when they're not there, they come back anyway. So we can't make the assumption that he's just forgotten or that we're to assume they're always there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe if you can make more differences when the sforzandi are not there, especially the C major. That's a different character about it. Let's start with the Allegro now.
Okay.
That's a possible fingering, just a suggestion. Third finger, G string, and double the A. Try it, see what. Piano's playing double octaves.
Mm-hmm.
We have one note. You know what I mean? We have to sort of be able to stand next to the piano. Now, let's think half bars. Right now I'm hearing quarters. He writes alla breve. That isn't a tempo indication, it's a pulsation indication. The tempo is clear, it's allegro vivace. But it's written in two. It's not ta, bum, bum. We shouldn't feel the second and the fourth beat. Bum, 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 bum. It's in half bars. Okay? Just so you know, I see you nodding your head on second and fourth beats. So that already subdivides what you're doing. Try to feel some type of half bar motion in your body, a swing. Try to feel a shift of weight, whatever it is that you need. We used to have to play like this. Manuel remembers that. I'm not going to force you to do that unless necessary. Once alone. Pum, 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 pum. And let it drive through the bar to the next. I hear you playing beat 2 and 4. I mean, you're not articulating in the sound, but I can sense it in your body. Bum, 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 bum. Let's try another bowing just to see. Not to do it, but just to try. Bum, 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 bum. Booked. Yeah. And really drive through the bar. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, now let's try the other bowing, and let's do that together. It necessitates a certain sustaining power on the dotted quarter. Otherwise, the moment where you drop the intensity, that's where we hear a missing beat.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Because you're dropping intensity exactly on the second beat. Whereas it should be sustained through, so we hear the half bar.
So do you think I should get rid of the lift after each one? You know, bum,
I don't know.
and use just like more bow?
It's worth a try.
Okay. Same spot.
Just easy, faster right now. Now. So there's inevitably a lift, but what I would say, it's not really a lift, it's a retake.
Right.
Let's try it, just you alone. But I think you're using more bow on the down than you need. Bum, 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 bum. But hang on to the note. Yeah. Suddenly it went up like this in intensity. Okay, let's try it together. Just tell me, Daniel, would you want Da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. All these beats to come down and sit. Da-dum, 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 da-dum.
No, I want it. Ba-dum.
Da-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. So why up, down? Have you tried down, up? Ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. Ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. It's a counterclockwise motion. But you need a little bit of bow on the 16th. And try to move into the part of the bow where you have a little more mobility. You don't have much there. Maybe there. Yeah. That's the motion. Sorry, it's weird with you.
Oh, I see what you. Okay.
The up is a result of the down. There's no extra motion on the up. Da-dum. It's like taking an elastic band. You pull it and let it snap. Yes. It's better. We'll work it out. It's a question of finding the right part of the bow. That's the idea. There's one impulse for 2 notes. Da-dum. The second note comes as a result of the first. Let's do da-da-da-da-da, because time is running out. Da-da-da.
You Sorry.
I feel that just try to, for argument's sake, open cross to the A string. Use an open A on the A. And see what happens. Okay. Now, for me, preferable simply because of the simplicity of the expression. The other just sounds instrumentally more complicated, whereas it seems to me the gesture I should feel the shape. Not this harmonic shift on cello position change. Again, is it the most beautiful fingering in the world to play open D and then open A? No. What are we looking for here is the question. But I think it's possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes those kinds of fingering choices are more expressive simply because they create the expression that's needed. When you have the figure D, get along. I know you want to articulate the 30 seconds.
Sorry.
I know that. I know what that means. I know you want to articulate the 30 seconds. I wouldn't stop the bow for that.
Okay.
Release the pressure and bring the pressure back. But I don't think we should hear, or, well, I saw, but I heard a stop in the bow. Okay? Because da, 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 D, ya, da, da. That release is less pressure on the bow. Bow keeps moving. Maybe not a lot, but it keeps moving. It doesn't actually stop. Given you have to go, is there an important question somewhere? Because, you know, we tried to put it all into such a short period of time.
I guess this is a loaded question. I have trouble with my diction in my bow on the middle strings more than I feel.
Can you give me an example of a passage? Play it together if you like, just so I can hear an example of what you mean.
Here.
Okay.
No, sorry. Here.
Fine.
The C major.
Let's try. And maybe think more open, less angular, more connected. Notes for Sanders. Yeah, there may be a different upbeat too. That belongs to the character of the music too. Pom pom. But you are making a sforzando. Pom 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 pom. Good, but it's forte, right? It's not mezzo forte. That's important because now it sounds just weaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not weaker. It's a different character. It's
like especially I feel like
Could you show me? Why don't you just try to keep the bow on the string in the string crossing? Just keep it on. Just keep it on the string. Yes. But you're not in the right part of the bow for the open D. For the open D to sound. Yes. Okay. So it was about bow placement.
Okay.
I'll just give you a little bit what I consider to be an extremely important point in how to use the bow. There's an optimal place to put the bow in any given moment in all the literature. I hear people often say, no, but I should be able to do it at the tip. And if it's better at the frog, but I should be able to do it at the frog. And if it's better in the upper half, oh, but I should be able. And I'm wondering, why do we feel we should be able to do something that goes against the nature of the bow and the body? It suggests to me that there is always an optimal place for these things. You just saw it now. Okay, it doesn't mean that would be the only way to do it, but that was the connection you were looking for.
Right.
Because in fact, you were too low in the bow and the sound was getting choked. So in fact, there is an optimal place. We can't always be there, but I think for the most part we can. And when we can't, then it's more the should be able to. But I'm thinking, if we can have the ideal, let's go for the ideal. And usually there is a way to do it. It's about distributing the bow the right way, and very often that happens starting in the right part of the bow, 7 measures back. Because when we get there, oh, I'm at the frog and I meant to be at the tip. So we hear this, whoop, the banana bow, right?
Yeah.
The banana bow comes not usually from the note, but something farther back because the distribution wasn't as it should be further back, and now you have to go. I know that. So, anyway, thanks for being patient, and I hope everything goes well with.
Thank you. Thank you so
You're
much.
very welcome. So next is Kayla. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Schumann. There's Kayla. How are you, Kayla?
Good to see you again.
Nice to see you. And you're playing first movement Schumann, right?
Yes, just until after the recap.
Right.
Yes.
You don't need this then.
Yes, sir.
That mic looks familiar to me. That was the one on the scene of the crime last night, huh? Yeah, okay. Good. Okay. I see that you're going through some inner struggles when you play. Could you talk to me about that? You asked me a question last night, but I didn't think it really relates to this subject. So I'm just wondering if you care to share some of your thoughts about that. Because I'm actually curious to know where your thinking is and how you feel about it. Something tells me you've spent a lot of time with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He, I wasn't aware to the extent of how much he struggled.
Who?
Schumann. And,
Oh, but okay.
sorry,
Well, we
really-
can
it
talk
really
about
aff-
Schumann, but
affects
I
me.
was thinking Kayla
Yeah.
more Robert Schumann.
oh, I feel, actually, I understand his pain. So I think sometimes it's hard to not,
Okay, no,
think
I
about-
get that, Kayla. I'm sorry, don't mean to
No,
interrupt,
no,
but
it's fine.
I'm thinking on a more general, basic level. Kayla the cellist.
Oh, that's a basic
Okay,
question.
that's what I want. That I think is the crux of the matter here.
Yeah,
It's not specifically related to Schumann. It's related to you and what you're doing, and I mean, I have my thoughts, but I'm interested before I chime in to hear where your thinking is, because I sense that there's an inner struggle
yeah,
with you
yeah,
playing.
yeah.
Now, it could be somewhat related to playing in public. That's possible. Something tells me it's not only about that.
No.
So, just whatever your thoughts may be, I'm interested to hear them.
I think it's just self-doubt. Yeah.
Okay, well, many of us have that.
Yeah.
What happens with you?
I don't feel free to express myself
Mhm.
because of maybe fear that it doesn't come across as convincing, which then it's definitely not coming across convincing. But
Well, yeah, because it becomes self-defeating. Then.
yeah, it just I have a lot of self-doubt.
Okay. Well, is there a particular part of the first movement that you feel very close to, or that you love particularly? If you could identify that, I'd like to do a kind of, this is like a laboratory, okay? And everybody here is a friend, okay? You have to believe in that. And I'd like you to choose that spot and maybe play it, and maybe try to get closer to what you really think and feel, and start to shed off the doubts and see what happens. I'm curious.
You want
Before we
to
do anything else, yeah, if you could just pick a spot. It doesn't have to be the beginning, but it can be if you want. Just decide a spot. What where you feel like maybe you can express yourself more in your words, convincingly. Anywhere. Any part of the movement that you just played.
maybe.
Let's start there. Let's start. Okay? So, if I could ask you to please start. There. You'll know exactly where it is. It's right before you play. Let's observe something. Could I ask you to play where the eighth ones come? Da-dee-da-da-dee-da. Yes, from the eighth. But really play it. And observe what you're doing. But really play it.
Okay, sorry.
Play it, but observe at the same time. Kayla, are you aware your bow is stopping before every note?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm assuming that's not something you want to do.
No, no.
Okay. So, can you think of what you might want to do and aim for that? Okay. Now, can I say something?
Yes.
That's the point. your whole physical demeanor changed.
Mm.
Were you aware of that?
Yes.
Because that's the first time I actually felt that you were feeling what you needed to do in your body.
Mm.
If I could be very
Yeah,
blunt,
yeah.
because we don't have a lot of time. I felt that you were fighting yourself when you were playing. And what I was aware of was that you were unwilling or unable to let your body feel the flow of the music.
Yeah.
When I asked you to aim for what it was that you were looking for, it wasn't just that it became more legato. It became more legato because suddenly you felt the flow of the music within your body. That is the first time I actually felt you depart from this. Because the rest of the time you played like this.
Yes.
And you actually did this. And suddenly all the sounds connected differently. And there was a totally different impression in terms of what that gesture expressed. And to me, what I was going to ask you first, it's now not necessary. What I was going to ask you to do is to play the opening or some passage without the cello. And I was going to take the cello and the bow from you, return it, of course, and I was going to ask you to play as if you had the cello, and to see what, it's now not necessary. But I would suggest that you do some practicing that way. Because I think it's important for you, if I could say, to be more in tune and in touch with what you need to be feeling and the actual body sensations, instead of just where the finger is going to go down, all those things. Those are technical ramifications of a larger idea. And that's what was holding you back, was this. As soon as you did that, suddenly there was something else. The relationship to the music was different and to the instrument too. So I do think that it's probably good for you to practice somewhat. I don't suggest you spend 3 hours going through the Schumann concerto without the cello necessarily. But I do think that there is something very important about you having a sense of what it should look like, what it should feel like, and ultimately, if you had the cello, what it would sound like, or should or would, if you had the cello there, and then the cello becomes part of you. And that's it. To try to make that connection. Because it seems like when the cello's there, you feel stuck with it. And you can't get past this. Of course, Emmanuel feels the same way. I think anybody, if I could say, who has that sense or that type of understanding about instrument, the cello becomes part of your body. It's never the other way around. It's never the other way around. And I'm not saying that you were trying for that, but I was aware that the instrument was inhibiting you. Does that make sense? Okay. So I think that would help, just to instill the sense of what you should be feeling and what you should look for. I was going to ask you to do other things, but now, again, it's not necessarily because of what you just did. But I was going to suggest that you at least dare to venture away from the cello. You don't have to look anywhere, and certainly I'm not one to suggest that you make faces and go through the usual histrionics that are so evident today. I'm not talking about that. But you can't be a prisoner to the instrument. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's absolutely essential. One of our great idols, of course, Jascha Heifetz. If you watch videos of him, it's true he didn't move much when he played. But if you watch videos, he's not stiff, and he's not like this. It's absolute freedom. All his energy goes into playing. I saw many of his students develop all kinds of tension problems in their neck because they tried to stay still when they played. Heifetz didn't try to stay still. It was complete freedom, but it was all focused on putting the energy where it needs to be. So it's not about staying still, and it's not about moving either. Many people who move a lot are the most tense players there are. And they're trying to fight through the tension, or they're doing other things. But still, it's not about moving. Moving doesn't mean you're free, nor staying still. It's about how you use the energy and how you use the motion. So now I'd like to ask you to play from the beginning a little bit. And I need to ask you a question now. Did you always play with your right thumb bent back this way? Did you always play that
Not
way?
always, no.
Okay. Is that something that you want to do, or that you feel that you can't control, or it's just that way and that's the way it is?
I normally have a grip on this, and I don't have it today. But it helps with flexibility. But yeah.
Because your thumb is bent back the whole time.
Yeah.
And I've had enough experience in all this to know that I had a student who she was so double jointed. When I asked her just to hold her hand, the thumb went back and curved. So I thought, okay, at that point maybe it's wrong to try to suggest that she play this way,
Right. Yes.
because it was just simply against her morphology.
Mm.
That's something I can't really understand because I have no experience with that and I don't understand it.
Mm.
But I have to admit, when she held her hand, her thumb was bent that way. Now, I've asked people who are double jointed, I'm not saying maybe you're not, but I've asked people who are double jointed if that's something that can be trained. They said yes to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So I do believe that there is some benefit because I think it creates a better connection of energy.
Yes.
It creates for the ability to get deeper into the string,
Yes.
and it creates less of a hindrance for all motions of the type of playing chords and so forth, to actually have the thumb in a slightly more rounded position. I'm feeling that it would help you unless you simply are unable to adopt that way of playing. You know, if it's something that just goes against you, then maybe it's not a good idea. But the whole idea about, if I can just suggest an exercise for anybody who might be interested, it's a simple exercise, but not always so simple to do. If you hold the bow and keep the frog parallel to the ground, the idea is to bring the bow into your palm,
I see. Yes.
like this, without tipping it over, this way. And the way that will translate on the string would be more hair
Oh yes.
by bending the thumb more. Gives more cushion, gives more roundness to the attack, and all this kind of stuff. All of which I think is beneficial. So the exercise is have the bow parallel to the ground, like that, and bring the bow into your palm without tipping it over. Yes. And just feel how the fingers and the bow connect. You can do that even without the bow, this way. Exactly. And try to now transfer that to the string. Let's try that on the string and see what happens. Okay? For example, if you adopt that way of using the bow, could you play that same passage? Boom, boom, and just hear the difference. Now let's move a little bit closer to the bridge where you can get a little bit more ring and vibrancy. Yes. Let's stay there. Good. Let's try the opening. Okay. Let's just do from the next. But do think of this. Again, it's a composite motion. It's not just bending the thumb. It's bending the fingers and the thumb together.
Yes.
It's one motion together. Okay? You're not going to drop the bow, right?
No.
You sure?
I'll try.
I mean, I don't want to be responsible for cello damage. Okay? Could you just maybe make a few sounds like that before we get going? And opening and sing the E, and sing it. Yeah. Did you hear the difference in the sound? It's closing and it's opening there. Okay. It's because you're opening the channels of energy. Okay? But you keep looking back there. Whatever it is you can find there, you'll find it over there too.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. And bend your right thumb and fingers together. Let's work on the first three notes. Da, 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 four notes. Let's do that again.
Sorry.
No sorries. down to get maximum vibrato on each finger.
No, I don't. Sorry.
Okay. See, you know all these things already.
Yes.
Emmanuel's looking there and thinking, I've been telling her this stuff, right?
Yeah, I have a tiger in my room, you know.
Finger by finger. Just observe it. Are you happy with this collapsed hand position?
No.
Okay. Okay, so what's the culprit here?
Thumb? I
Probably.
don't know. I feel like my hands are small, so I don't know where to. If the thumb is here.
You know, your hands are not too small, but I think
Oh,
you
really?
need.
Okay. Everyone always tells me
Well,
that.
I mean, I can't make them bigger.
Okay.
I can't make them bigger, but what I can do is suggest that you just need to find what you need to do. So you're saying, I feel like my hands are small. So you're allowing yourself to play in this position when it makes no difference how big or small. My hands are fairly large. If I play like that, it's going to get cramped, it's going to sound thin, and it's going to sound squeezed. Okay, I'm just telling you. I can show you if you want, but just trust me, it will. Okay, so the question is not whether your hands are too small or this or whatever. The question is more, how are you going to use them? It's something that I was talking about earlier because we were talking about philosophy for the last couple of days, as you could probably imagine. Life is about playing the hand you're dealt. And don't cry about it, right? And that's cello playing too. We all have the morphology that we have. I'm happy that I have the hands I have, and believe me, they create problems for me sometimes. And I'm envious of people like you when you get into the upper position and you can actually play half steps and put one finger down after the next. I have to lift every single finger all the time. Now, am I going to complain about it? No, but I have to do it. And is that doable? Yes, because otherwise I couldn't play. Okay? Does it mean maybe I can get a more naturally fixed sound in the lower register and maximize vibrato? Yes, and that's good for that. But does that mean that you can't? No, it doesn't, because it has to do with angles. It has to do with what part of the finger you use and all those things, and that's true for anybody. So for you, right now, you're playing in this kind of position, and that would be problematic for me. So I'm thinking, well, okay, I don't need to bring the thumb up to play the opening of Schumann.
Okay, yes.
Maybe you do. And is that the end of the world?
No.
No. So keep your hand in the natural position. Okay, let's try. You figured out how you're going to bring the thumb back and when. And that was logical and it was natural. Okay. So let's do the beginning, okay? Maybe just a little under tempo, so you just have a chance to feel your way through it. This is not about playing in tempo, it's about just understanding these things. Just a little bit under tempo. Like that. Just intuitively, is this something we want?
No.
Okay. I know, it sounds really dumb, right? It's like this guy's a clown, right? Or something like that. But actually, the fact is, Kayla, it usually comes down to simple stuff like that, you know? And it's true. I know, you're thinking, I don't really play like that. No, not really. But I saw it. I saw this and this. So, how is that going to, how are you going to sustain that? Okay? Right? Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I mean, this can be fun too, right? It doesn't all have to be, you know, as our dear teacher said, torture. It doesn't all have to be torture. Yeah, so you're starting out on your down bow, wherever it is. Okay? The resulting point is here. It's not there, it's here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's aim for that. Okay? You
Yes.
need your upper arm so that you can get out there. Now, the forearm itself can only go so far.
Yes.
That's where the problem is.
Yes.
You open your forearm, and it brings you back there.
Mm.
You still need your upper arm to complete the action always. That's another story. Okay, good, let's do that. Now, let me make a suggestion. It's piano. It's meant, whatever Schumann means by piano, because piano is a dynamic, but it's a character too. This is not forte character. And I'm not of the belief that because you're playing it with orchestra and it's a larger space, therefore you have to play it forte. I don't believe that. It should give the impression of being piano. But in reality, it has to give the impression of being piano. That's what's important. What it takes to do so is your business. You follow me?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Let's do from your entrance. In other words, play it. Don't whisper it. Don't whisper it. Don't keep it to yourself. Let us be part of this experience. You always want to go back to that. Okay, your starting point is now here.
Okay.
Okay, it's not there.
Okay.
It's here. Okay. All the notes. Yeah, we lose the last two. You lose the E and the C.
Sorry.
One motion. Sustain to the end. Not. Let's just do that over and over again. I lose the last two notes. Distribute the bow so you have enough for the last two notes. Better, just four notes, not five. And vibrate. How about the fourth finger? Good. Let's start again. Don't forget about bending your thumb. Okay? These are syncopations. Should we hear t? If they're syncopations, how are we going to hear syncopations? The accent in the middle of the note. They're syncopations. So you have to feel the missing beats. We don't need to hear the missing beats. Otherwise, why does he write syncopations? And you know, all of this is piano, but I don't think it's piano tranquillo. It's not piano calmo. It's piano appassionato. No? Okay. So these are not mutually exclusive ideas. Piano has to be calm. They don't. I'm not saying that you think that, but we keep going back to that. Okay? Piano, it's a character, it's a dynamic, it's all those things. But it has a whole world within it. This music is turbulent, you know. It's troubled. Yep. And it's piano. And why? It's not forte. But it's still it would be nice once if you didn't always go back to
Yes.
starting position. Starting position for me is this. Sorry, don't bother me. This is how I start.
Sorry.
Okay, well, I'm going to keep bothering until you start this way. Okay? Let's do that again. And now really aim for connecting all these ideas. And use your body. Now, this is the time to put together the stuff that we've been talking about right here, okay? Don't be afraid. Nothing's going to happen until you begin. Try to get the doubt and the fear away. This is the time to experiment and see where you can go with this. You know, it's not a time to demonstrate or save face or anything. You know, I'm not saying that that's what you're trying to do, but so what? So something happens. But I think this is important because you need to feel what this is. Okay, you don't. The cello needs that there. Yes, don't be afraid to move. Okay, let's start at the C again. Play it. Don't aim, you're aiming. You're aiming. Can I give you a reading assignment? Would you mind?
Yes.
Okay, Zen and the Art of Archery
Yes.
by Eugene Herrico.
Yes.
Did you read it?
I have the book. Yes.
Well, she knows about having books and not reading them. But she always reads them and I have them. But this is one you should read.
Yes.
Okay? It's about understanding all these things and then letting it go.
Yes.
That's what it's about. Okay? You can make this breakthrough. You know, I do understand it's a little bit difficult in front of people. You know, but I'm not sure if that's particularly a problem for you or not, but
It's
I can
not,
understand
yeah.
how it can be. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you need to know what that is.
Mm.
And I get glimpses of it, and then you revert back. Okay? So that's, I think, the key to all this. And that's actually what I wanted to say before you showed me what you could do when I asked you to aim for that. I just feel like you need to find the key to unlock these things. It's not going to be by tweaking that phrase and getting that fingering there and that. It's a more general thing. It's unlocking this. It'll happen. It'll be there. You know, you have to have a certain amount of faith that you will. But I believe that that's what you need. You know? And could we just take it one more passage and then I think we have to go to the next person. Okay? Could you play for me, well not for me, but you know, when in the beginning, you know, in the second part of the exposition. Yes. Why don't you give me second beat?
Oh, sorry.
That's it.
sorry,
That's
sorry.
exactly it. Yeah. Schumann was a dreamer. Don't be afraid to dream. You know. what's that about? Do you feel like you're forcing the cello?
No, it
Doesn't sound like you're forcing the cello.
There's no connection here. I feel it here in my shoulders. So
I lost you.
the weight is not transferring out of my back and my shoulders. That's like a problem where I feel like it just my hand.
You mean what you did just now?
Yes.
But it sounded. I didn't sound before.
Oh really? Okay.
Well, could you play it again?
Yes.
Just so you hear it. Yeah, connect and sing through. Sing those notes and vibrate those notes. So tell me, are you unhappy with that sound?
Honestly, it's just different. I don't play there often. That's
Well,
the truth.
Maybe
Yeah.
you should have a little bit more familiarity with
Yeah.
that. Because the cello's starting to ring now,
Yeah.
you know, because before it sounded kind of covered, you know, now it's starting to open up.
Mm.
But the most important thing is, we talked about that last night, are you hearing it now?
Right, right.
After that, maybe you don't like it, but personally, I feel like the cello's starting to vibrate now.
She's agreeing. She tells me this all the time.
So basically, you just don't listen to anybody, right? That's what it all comes down to. You just, I don't know why you bother, I'm just going to do what I want anyway.
No.
No, I know that. You don't seem that type, but no, yeah, maybe it's different, but I mean, I think we would all agree it's starting to come out now,
Yes.
you know. And again, it's not about being bigger about everything that you do. It's about making things really sound. You know, the sound here is one thing, but it's got to come out of the cello.
Mm.
It has to. It has to. I think the rest for some future date, but we have to keep going on, right? So I think your colleague is there.
Yes.
So there's a few things to think about and try, experiment.
Yes.
You know, in the comfort of just not having everybody observe. It's a little bit always stressful, but try these things and don't be afraid to maybe feel foolish or that, you know, well, that's not me. Yeah, we need to know where our limits are. But right now, I feel like you need to sort of push it out a little bit and see, you know, where it's going to go. And also just allow your body to be properly active in the right way, in the ways that you're seeing now. You know, instead of I have to glue myself to the axis of the cello. The cello's going this way, so am I. It's like we're playing. The cello has to be part of that. You know, it's not the cello's here. Okay, now that's my straitjacket. You know, I'm not saying you feel that way, but it gives a little bit the impression that you're inhibited by the cello. And when that happens, I think basically we're always trying to crawl out of a hole, you know, somewhere. It's like, I'm here, how do I get out of here? You know, okay?
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Pleasure. Jake, right?
Yes.
Jake.
Do you want us to stop somewhere?
Well, preferably before 4:30, but I don't know what you mean. What are you playing? I don't even know.
The infantry.
Ah,
First movement.
were you planning to play the first movement? Then you should play the first movement. But no repeat today. How's that? Okay. You know, I was sitting there thinking, it's actually happened to me. I've given classes, maybe that lasted 10 days, 2 weeks even, it can happen, where I didn't hear one Beethoven sonata in the whole time. And I always wonder how that's possible. Today we heard 2, and last night we played 1, so that's 3 of them. Yeah, I don't understand that, you know. But anyway, thank you for playing Beethoven. Kind of hard to avoid, you know, not that we should, but of course Schumann too, naturally, but it astonishes me when that happens. You'd be surprised that it happens. Now, Jake, I'm just curious to know, if you would think that there are certain problems that you need to deal with or conquer, if that were the case, you could also say, no, everything's fine. But if that's how you feel, then you can tell me that. But if there are some things that you feel you need to overcome, what are those things, would you say? Because there's a few things that kind of call attention to themselves for me when I hear and watch you play. So I'm curious to know where your thinking is.
I think maintaining through the phrase, sometimes my bowings are...
You have a very deep voice.
Yes, I do. It's a radio voice.
Have you done radio?
No.
Okay, let's continue.
Yeah, maintaining through the phrase,
Very deep voice, no?
memorizing the music, that'd be nice. Yeah, that'd be helpful.
Let's talk about that first. You know, our dear teacher told me once the biggest memory slips he ever had took place when he used the music. Do you know why that's so and what that means? You know, it's considered for some people good form, for others permissible, whatever, to use music when one plays a sonata. I think I feel that because it's a duo piece, with the exception, I would say, of the Arpeggione Sonata, which is called a sonata, but it's hardly a sonata. It's really not a duo piece at all. And I think because of its difficulty, you can always have the music there, but I think you can't play a piece like that unless you're playing it from memory. You can't. It's just too distracting to have to look at the music. It takes you out of your relationship with the instrument. However, you know, these sonatas, Mendelssohn, Brahms, Chopin, etc., you know, those are true duo pieces. It seems to me that because you have the music there, you're not required to look at it. It's out of good form, because pianists generally don't play those pieces from memory, though I have played some of those pieces with pianists when they did, and I actually used the music. That's very strange. It did happen. I'm not joking. You know. Anyway, that's another story. But I think when you use the music, I think you have to decide either are you going to look at it or are you not going to look at it. It is possible that you can get to the point of comfort where you can actually keep going back. Here's the thing though, in those moments you do know it from memory. And it's not just memory, it's visual memory. Meaning, when you look back at the music, you know exactly where you are on the page, even if you're not looking at the page. If you don't know it that way, then you get the memory slips.
Yeah, I had to print this edition because to avoid the page turn of the original. So,
Yeah. Now, after that, if you know it from memory, you can always have the music. You put the stand off to the side if you want, or you have it in front of you, and don't look at it. It's a little difficult because it's right in front of you. It's tempting to look. But I think you can deal with it different ways. You know, after that, there are people who simply play sonatas from memory and, you know, they do what they want. You know, I find that a bit strange to see a Brahms violin sonata where the violinist is playing without the music and the pianist with. But, you know, you see everything. You know, you live long enough, you see everything. You know. So how you deal with it, I think, is still important, and I think you need to come to terms with that. Otherwise, it's constantly a problem. You know, and that's what causes the memory slips. You know. Okay, let's speak on a cellistic level. Let's not even say cellistic level, a physical level. What, if anything, do you feel you need to overcome or conquer?
getting caught in the same position, being stuck and not free and open,
Okay, and what's wrong with that?
restrictive, and
But what does it cause?
tension.
Yes, sir. To me, that's the biggest thing you need to overcome. All the tension you hold in here. Okay, that's where you're holding it, right in the neck area. Okay? It's partially to do with position, but it's just your overall relationship, head to neck to shoulders, and producing motions that are in a way applied to what you need, but not restricted and not through excessive tension. Tension, as I'm sure you know, is something that is not inherently negative. It's something we need. If you hold your arm like this, I'm not going to hold it higher because then it looks like something weird. I'm going to hold it right there. My muscles are not completely relaxed position. Therefore, muscle tension is present. Am I tense? I don't think so. I'm not tense. I could do this for a while, it's not gonna hurt. Okay? So I don't think I'm in a tense position. But I hope that I'm using the muscles properly so that I can lift my arm and not be in an excessively tense position. If you're probably, I don't know if that's so, but I'm guessing you might like sports?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you play tennis maybe?
Mhm.
Okay. So you do need tension. In other words, if your arm is in a totally relaxed position, you simply cannot return that serve or return the volley or whatever it is that's coming at you. Should your arm be in a constantly tense position, probably you're not going to last a set that way. It's probably going to hurt, you know. So it's more a question of having the right amount of tension at the right moment. And when it's not needed, release it, because you'll probably need it somewhere else. So that's really the key to how tension should be used. There were moments when, for whatever reason, I don't know, it's usually when the music got a little bit softer, more dolce, less involved, you actually started to produce some sounds where I felt like your body was properly involved and the cello started to respond to you. When that was happening, I could see that there was a release of tension here. Okay? So that should give you a clue. One of those places, maybe you can identify. There were maybe 2 or 3 places like that. Were you aware of it? Where you were making sounds where the cello was vibrating?
Yes.
Could you identify one of them for me? Don't play it, just tell me when it was.
That was the point of relaxation.
That was one. Also the return of the opening theme after the development section.
Yes, and then
Okay, so why was that? Because it wasn't like that at the beginning.
because I know the music right there and felt certain with myself and yeah.
Okay, could you play the return?
The return.
The return of the beginning of the recap. Just play from there. With piano, if possible. There. Let's do from the low E, going into the return. So piano plays. Okay. Yes. Okay. Up bow E.
Where do you start?
Where you start again.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Okay, I can't find it in there.
There.
That's it.
Yep.
There.
Yep.
Okay.
It's from that E.
Exactly. Jake, is there an accent on that?
No.
Okay. No, if you're going to apologize to anybody, just to Mr. Beethoven, not me. Okay? I mean, he's the one. If anybody's going to be offended, it's not going to be me, it's going to be him. He's listening, by the way. Always. Perfect. Could you take a nice deep breath and start the piece? Take a breath. Think about it. Think about that feeling that you just had. Breathe and then start. You know, when you looked up like that, I thought bit better now. Interesting, because you've let go of something, but Kayla has a good bow exercise for you now. She'll show you what it is. But it's better now. You play the whole movement like this. Yeah, exactly like that. Now you're starting to actually release that and feel some flexibility there. But Kayla will give you the bow exercise. But you saw what we were doing. Right?
Yes.
That will, I think, be helpful. Okay? Just think of that. Okay? And let's start again. By the way, much better. Just so you know, what you're feeling and what you're doing now, you could play all the time like that. That doesn't change simply because of the content of the music. Okay? When the music gets more involved, when the music becomes more intense, you don't need to become what we call tense. You just need to use the tension properly at the right moments and put it where it will serve your purpose of creating the sounds you're looking for. Okay? I probably you know that, but I'm just here to tell you that it's so. You know, it's not because it gets more excited or that the music becomes more tense that you must get into that. It's not the case. That's not really how it works. Okay? So let's start. Let's start again. Just getting a little bit on the high side. Yeah. Just be careful of not rising with the pitch, but sing through the whole phrase. You know, even when you go to the C string. Okay? Okay, now come. Let's start with the octaves now on the piano. Well, again, you don't have to be sorry to me. Okay. Ta-dee-ah, that's where the cello comes in. Ta-da-da-da-da-da. You're hard to move. A lot of resistance. You ever get a massage or do yoga or
It's been a while.
Well, I'm not offering, but just, you know. But yeah, I would consider it. Okay? Okay? By the way, it comes enough times. I mean, obviously, you know, we don't have the time in 35 minutes to go into all details. So, you know, there are many things I would eventually like to address that we don't have time for. I'm trying to go for the things that I think are most important. But it comes enough times that you have trills. Here's one. And there are many others throughout the piece. The principal rhythm is da da la da 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 da. Right? Take away the trill, it's quarter, dotted eighth, 16th. Da da la da 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 da. Then you have a trill on the B, right? Okay. If you're not careful about it, then we hear what happens when you're playing these. I'm hearing da la da la da la da da da. Because every time you go to the next beat, the note that precedes the D, instead of being B, it's always C sharp. That creates a rhythm. Da la da la da la da la da. And you did that throughout all the trills. Do you follow me?
Kind of.
Another way to put it, make sure that the note that precedes the second beat is The principal note, not the trilling note.
Okay, yes.
Okay, could you try for me? Just the da la 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 without piano. You see?
Yeah.
You just proved it.
Yes.
You just play da la 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 da. Can you play da da? Stop the trill and then play the fourth finger. Play trill, stop it, and then fourth finger. Try that. Stop it on B. Yes. You see what happens if you don't do that?
Yes.
It actually becomes a different figure. I mean, you may prefer that figure, but Mr. Beethoven didn't write that. He'll probably ask for a sorry again. Okay? Da 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 da. From there? Or ta da da. No, good, better. From the G sharp. That's your theme now. Da 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 da. Yes. Yeah. With piano, please. You can sing it out. You're going up on the D string. Don't feel like you have to, be careful here. Sing it. Da, 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 da. Okay. Whenever you want. Purpose of that exercise is so that the trill stops on B.
Okay.
Okay. Let's do da la da 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 dee, a little cadenza.
You said just a cadenza.
Well, I didn't actually mean just the cadenza, but let's start at the cadenza and let's go on. And maybe think about the timing. I think we're in a situation like in the C major. There's nothing about this music that suggests the next occurrence is A minor. That's a complete surprise. If you wait, do a nice sniff, cue, the whole thing, yeah, we know it's going to happen. Of course, we all know the A major sonata, but it strikes me that the idea of Beethoven's here is an abrupt change. If we prepared, it's like a surprise party when everybody's told you, Jake, we're going to have a surprise party for you tonight, and you go to the room and act surprised. Isn't it better to be surprised? Yeah, that's what you have to create here. Let's do the cadenza and go on, okay? Yeah, you don't need to wait 2 extra beats. Tee, tee, bow. Surprise. Just play it. She'll be with you. I guarantee. Scale going up. Could you just show me your left hand? You sure you need to bring up the thumb? To play B?
No.
I think that's what's causing the problem. Considering how many times we go through the neck area in our life, millions, probably, I think that's something we need to consider. When the thumb goes up, when it comes down. If we don't have a good idea about it, it's going to trip us up, inevitably. It may not be for various reasons, usually having to do with intervals and angles, the same every single time, but it's going to be very much the same in lots of instances. And here with your hand, there's no need to bring, and I feel like that's what's causing the problem here. Let's try it without. It needn't be touching or clutching, just not going up. Okay? let's do that and go on, okay? You take a nice breath and then play. Don't hold it in. Try the A. Breath and let it go. Yeah, but really let it go. Just once. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. How about do the sniff if you want. Let it go. And let it go here. Okay? Okay? Just try. Can you play it now? You're tightening all those muscles. This feeling is what you want to maintain even as you produce the powerful stroke there. Okay? Try it. Do you see how your head shakes? It does, trust me. Try it without the sniff. Just put the bow and play. Without the cue. Just put the bow and play. Yeah. Don't cue it. Just play. Let's try to work out that tension. Okay, just keep playing, please. Back and forth, down, up. Keep it on this string. Work out the tension. Work out the. Keep playing. Work out the tension. Look for a thicker part of the finger. Don't stop. Don't stop. More surface area. More surface area. Yes. More surface area. This. Not this. This. Vibrate it. Vibrate. Let it go. Let the vibrato go. You're right at the cusp. Let it go. Now we're getting some cello sound. Yeah, that sounds like a cello. You got me?
Yes.
Okay, try it. Trust that. You don't need to tense up your whole body for that. You're getting much more tension and sound than you did when you tensed up. Okay, try it. Keep going. Back and forth. Back and forth, down, up. Try to get rid of that rasp. Forte. Yes, sir. There you go. Okay, now start it. Together. Maybe not half the bow, maybe all the bow. It's a big forte phrase. Is there an accent on the A?
No.
There's an open string. That's going to sound very direct, right? The accent's on the F. Can you play from the open A? Like this forte. You can still play the forte without an accent. Let's try it. Back to holding tension. Did you hear that sound when you let it go? It was pleasing, no? I mean, I thought so. Okay? You know, I know we have to let the last person, the Hillary's, was, yeah. But these are the things I think you need to look at. Try to work out that tension. So you don't associate powerful bow strokes with tensing up here. When you release that, and you're playing with the right part of the finger, instead of breaking, play with more service. Yes, you maximize the vibrato, and you get the string and the cello to vibrate. That's what you're looking for. And you hear the difference in the sound. Okay? The rest, we can do sometime. And Beethoven's important, but I wanted to deal with that, because that was the thing I felt was needed addressing. Okay? Good. Good luck. always is meant to serve some type of expressive purpose, right? There's no absolute need to vibrate. You yourself played the last phrase non-vibrato. But that actually was the first time I heard you depart from your vibrato. Which is to say, I felt that it was more or less the same type of vibrato throughout. And yet, the expressions were changing constantly in the music. So shouldn't the vibrato also reflect those changes? I would think yes. That doesn't mean it needs a large departure or anything radical, but I think it should always modulate in terms of what's needed at the moment. I think, and that largely comes from the information that you send into the cello from the right side of your body, which is to say, if you would start from non-vibrato and look for the vibrato that would be appropriate at any moment, I think that would give you the idea of what makes sense at the time. That's rather conscious experience, but I think obviously if one is looking for that and one is hearing those things become more part of the instinctive aspect of playing. But I think that's something that might be a good thing for you to just consider and be attentive to. The way, I'm not saying you should vibrate differently, or that anybody in particular should vibrate differently, but that there is, like with the bow and any other aspect of what you do, the possibility for it to modulate in terms of what's needed. And there I felt a little bit like there was this constant with the vibrato. And then when you didn't vibrate at the end, I noticed that, yeah, there was a departure. But I think all along the way, there can be departures other than either vibrato or non-vibrato. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's something maybe we can look at. Just, we don't have a lot of time, but we can look at that. Another thing, just it comes enough times, I just want to suggest, as a fingering. You start on one, you shift up, and then you shift again. And you did it every time that way. I think there would be other options than always having a shift followed by another shift. You know, the problem is it sounds expressively confusing. We're not sure what the meaning of the shift is, in fact. There might be a shift that needs to be there for an expressive reason, whereas I'm guessing that not all of them need to be there for an expressive reason. Therefore, there are probably other fingering options than starting each time with a shift. You could reach, you could start on thumb, thumb 2, 1, 2 with the reach, 1, 3, and find another way. There are other options, you know. I think that would be worth doing because it comes enough times that I think it does create a confusion for the listener, at least for me. You know. Let's talk about the opening. If I would ask you to play, because the thematic note is the top of the chord, right? Then you probably somewhere along the line tried to play the chords down, up. I did. That never really works. We always end up having to play down, down, right? On the chords. Inevitably, that's what we end up with. But I'm thinking, if you just think of the theme, which is the top note of the chord, if I asked you to play it down low like you do, but just play the top note, and then play the top note of the next chord. In other words, just play the thematic notes, but maintain your bowing. I'd like to hear what you would do. You're playing a theme. You're not playing chords. You're playing a theme. What if I asked you to play it down up? How would you play it? Interesting. When you did that, there was one thing you didn't do. What was that? Try it again. Why don't you try down, down, and then down, up, and see what the difference is. Now let's try down, up. Okay, what was the difference? Besides the fact that there wasn't the space.
Yeah.
Other than that, what was the difference?
When I connected with the up bow, I think
Between the, yeah,
Like-
yes, the shift, but what else? There was one thing you,
line.
sorry?
There's a line.
Yes, and why?
Because I went
Could I,
to
could I ask you to listen to the ends of the notes when you play down, down? And then down, up. Okay, so what is it that you don't do when you play down, up?
I don't.
Make that whipping crescendo at the end. My question is, when we have the chords and we're playing down, should we have that? I know that's how we always hear it. I know that. Of course I know that. My question is that how we should hear this? Yeah. Why do we do that? I think we do it because we think that's going to sustain the sound. Whereas I think what happens is we get an extraneous expression that doesn't belong. Plus, it's exacerbated by the fact that we're at the tip and we're going back to the frog. But when we just think of the clarinet has it right after, right? Do they play? No, they do not. Of course, if you heard that, you think, why are you doing that? But actually, well, the proper answer for the clarinet player at that point is because that's what you're doing. Which would be kind of annoying and insulting, right? So they don't say that. Hopefully. Some of them might, but you see my point? I'm not sure that that distortion in the sound should exist at all. I'm suggesting that we play down bows because it's simply the best option. But like we do in the Dvorak concerto, dum bum 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 bum. Would you want to hear? You wouldn't. You think, how can you play a line like that? And I think you'd be right. So I just wanted you to consider that in terms of how you're going to deal with that, because it strikes me that all we're doing is playing a harmonized line. That's all. It's like Bach in a way. And the integrity of the line should be maintained, regardless of the bowing. You know, will it be completely connected? No, because we have these problems to deal with. It's fortissimo, four chord, four note chord. Okay, but there's a way to make that sound as if it's a connected event, but probably not by that crescendo every time. So let's start from the beginning again. Okay? And now the thing is not to let the intensity subside before the pause, but without making the crescendo. Okay? So try to think across the bowing, or think across the inevitable space, which is not a musical space. It's a physical requirement of playing down, down. We're stuck with that. That's life. It ain't perfect. But thought-wise, we can connect. I think we can. Okay? That's better. First chord, second one had a little bit of it, but you heard the difference.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. That to me is the way to play that. Okay? Now, let's talk about this whole opening. I hope you would agree with me. I think you would. It's not 4 phrases, it's not 3, it's 1. It's 1 phrase. So, therefore, there should be some sense of recitativo, yes, because that's what it is, but these are connected in thought. Also, I'm going to be a little radical. I'm one of those, maybe there aren't a lot of them, I don't know. I'm thinking, yeah, it's free, but it's free based on something. And the something is a tempo. There's a tempo. There's a tempo. Meaning, whatever the length of your half note chords are, the next notes have to relate. Do they have to be exact? Maybe not. You have 4 of them. But if the first 2 are already out of tempo, ti, ta, wait a second. Do you know what I mean? So, Not sure what that is. You have four of them. You can be free. But ti, ti, ro. That would be an exact relationship. Ti, ro, ro, ro. I didn't sing metronomically. But I think if we just play tom, tim, ti, ra, ra, we've lost that connection. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like somebody speaking to you and then just drifts off. I don't know what to make of it. So that's all I'm suggesting. As Casal said, freedom with order. There's a connection, but you have the chance to be free, but you have to make the connection. Otherwise, I don't get it. Okay, let's start from the beginning. Is there an accent? You can play it with an accent. It's usually done. I've always thought the accent makes it sound like ooh, like it's spooky music. And I'm not thinking it's spooky music. It's music of destiny. Like it's supposed to scare you. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's what that accent sounds like to me. I know that's almost sacrilegious to say it now because it's been done. But I'm thinking it's not necessary because it's not needed to make the sound come out. It'll speak without an accent. And what it says is, I think, the wrong thing about this phrase. It's not a scary ending. It just should sound like this has tremendous meaning and intent to it. Okay? But I just wanted you to think about it, because these are things that, the problem with pieces like all the pieces that were played today are so familiar to the listener, but mostly to us, that if we don't sort of wash this stuff out of our head, we, without even thinking, I'm not saying you do it intentionally or I do it. We do this. We're like that. We hear it becomes part of our collective cello lore. And sometimes we just repeat these things without even thinking. I'm not saying that's why you did. Maybe you intentionally wanted the accent. I'm just here just to suggest that these things always need to be re-examined. After that, if you feel, no, the right expression is accent, then you should do the accent. Okay? Let's go from your entrance. Just directly on it. Try to feel the bar, not the beat. He marks a slur over the bar. I don't think that's a bowing, I think it's an idea. But we should hear. It's like a big circle. And to try to make a preparatory motion that's in keeping with that idea, it was a bit, I thought, up and down, maybe more this, so that you set the music swinging in a horizontal fashion immediately, and feel that in your body. Thank you. That was such a different sound. Yes, thank you. Let's do that again.
I've been being confused about prep, so that was amazing.
Well, thank you for saying that. But I'm just so happy to hear you make that sound, and that's the thing.
It felt so different.
Yeah, and it really sounded so different. And I'm glad that we experienced that now, because I think we all have to really realize that everything that we do results in something else. It all matters. That's good. That's a little scary. That part, that's scary. If there's anything scary, that's scary. It makes that much of a difference. But that's important. And that's why, just to suggest, because I think we all have this experience. Sometimes we're playing it doesn't, like, ooh, that was good. That was an accident. And I'm here to say it can't be. If you think of what needs to take place for that to come through, what you just did, it's a virtual mathematical impossibility for it to be an excellent. How many things have to come together at the same time? And they, oh, yeah, 17,000 different things, and that's an accident. It's impossible. You know? So I think it's important that when you hear something that's right, it's because you did it the right way. Now, what was that thing? That we don't always know. And that's why we practice to analyze and figure that out. We have a better sense, either knowing or feeling or hearing, whatever it is. All those things are important. But it can't be an accident. It's just not possible. You know? Great. I'm glad that you experienced that. You know? Great. Good. Let's go from there. And once again, this idea that it carries through the bar. Start again. Which here was just a question of the pitch, yeah. But that's fine. Maybe the G string would benefit from a slightly less compact vibrato, just because the thickness of the string in the register compared to the A, maybe even the D string already, maybe. Just something just to listen for and see. Let's start from again. It was beautiful. Let's start from the beginning of that again. What I'd like, if we can start there, and now think it's not this room, it's a 2,000 seat auditorium, and you've got a full orchestra playing behind you. Okay? Can we start from your B, for your E? Yes, and the orchestra's boom, 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 and that's fun. Where's it? Yes, from the crescendo. Okay? And just think now you have to reach this climactic moment.
Okay.
That's very important at this juncture of the piece. So I think that might take getting closer to the bridge, letting the vibrato open up the sound so that you can create a greater spread and scope to the sound that you're making. Okay? And instead of dividing the bow equally 2/3, 1/3, quarter, eighth, let's say maybe more half and half. In other words, give more value to the eighth. Connect the line by expanding the smaller values. Let's do from the E. Yeah, but rather more half and half.
Okay.
So that means save your bow for it and
Yeah.
use the
Yeah.
bow. Yeah. equally important note within the line.
Okay.
All of these passages, they're not really passages. They're scales. In this case, you have arpeggios, but they're melodic figures. And you're stuck here. And you're producing these kinds of strokes. What about these kinds of strokes? They're going to connect more, will be more circular and more singing. Could you play and try to get away from the frog, where that's forcing you to play like this. You have long arms. Good. That means you can play up here and you still have lots of power. Yeah. Maybe that's not it. It's somewhere in between.
Yeah.
And try to sing those strokes. In other words, the idea is not to produce angular strokes, but singing strokes. These kinds of strokes. You would see it. Are you videotaping yourself? You'll see what I'm talking about. It looks a little like this. And what you want to look for is this. Okay? In other words, try to not avoid the angles, create curves out of angles. Okay? Yeah, that's the idea. Now, that's sort of excessively vertical about it. You don't need that big a circle. It's much closer to an oval, in fact. A rather flat oval, but it's an oval, meaning there's always a turning around point on either side. Watch the tip of the silver of the bow. It shouldn't be describing this kind of circle, but rather this kind of circle. That doesn't need to be more vertical than that.
Okay.
Okay? And try to keep the power in the stroke. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I mean, you're not entirely happy about it, but the connection is getting better and better. The same thing is true with the arpeggio figure, same thing. To think about where in the bow and what kind of motion your arm should be creating to create the proper connections of these figures. Okay? I have to look at the time.
I don't have a watch.
Well, I do. It's 4:30. Hillary, I know I always feel like there's not enough time, but is there a question that you'd like to ask? Something that we didn't deal with that you feel you would like at least to address? I'm putting you on the spot.
You
I'm
know,
sorry, I don't mean to.
I love what we've talked about. Interpreting the differences in the 4 times the main melody comes back, and he marks it differently.
It marks it differently, and it's also different simply because we've heard other music in the meantime, and that's going to influence what's happening next and so forth. I don't know. I always felt in this music it's a little like the Brahms E minor first movement. Curious, it's in the same key. It's an overall arch. It starts like this and it goes like this and it ends like that. It's a little different because the Brahms starts in an enigmatic way. It's not a robust beginning. This is, but there's something circular and obviously in its form, it's a cyclical piece in some way, at least because the material in the beginning comes back at the end. By the way, which is forte is, you may have noticed it's usually played fortissimo again. It's not fortissimo at the end, it's forte. Some people say, he meant fortissimo. I'm thinking if he meant fortissimo, he would have written fortissimo.
Like at the end of the fourth movement?
In the end of the fourth
Yeah.
movement, when it's
Yeah.
reiterated, it's in forte,
Yeah.
not fortissimo.
Huh. Yeah.
There's a reason for that, because that's for each of us to figure out what that might mean. I think it has something to do with resignation in life. Yeah. He exposed everything he went through. He's telling about his life, and basically at the end he's saying, and we have to accept it. You know, he starts out with a little bit more optimism about it, and when it comes back at the end, you know, it's very important, I think, in this piece to at least consider when he wrote it and maybe even why he wrote it, because you know it was the last piece he wrote. He lived for many years after. He probably wrote at home, but he didn't publish anything else. You know, it came at the end of the First World War. It came after the death of his wife. It came after this era in British history known as the Victorian era, of which he was a part. You know, it all came to an end, and he exposed all of that in this piece, I think. And then at the end, it's the end. You know, that was it. You know, so I think that is part of its power. And why it comes back forte, I think it has to do with those things. You know, it's frequently overlooked. I think maybe even not even noticed. You know, but it is there. And what he writes when he restates the theme at the end is not identical even in its content to the first time. There are some small changes, right? There's chords. What first time there's a sforzando on the C, it's not there the second time. You know, people could argue, well, he meant the same thing, and I'm thinking he clearly didn't because he wrote something else. If he meant the same thing, you have to at least assume he would have written it. We can't make the assumption that they made a mistake. We notice the problem, they don't. That's absurd. Do you know what I mean? We know better. It's ridiculous. You know, so there's a reason. It may not always be apparent, you know. But I think what you asked about the thematic material of it has something to do with there's something questioning the first time. Like, what is life going to bring me? You know? Where's it going to go? You know? And I think as he works through that, he finds himself in another part of his life in the scherzo, probably a more happy-go-lucky time. You know? The third, I'm thinking, is some type of love letter to his wife. You know? She's departed and he's looking back at her. This comes back also in the last movement. The last movement, that's a real curiosity. You know, in its form, it's the longest movement of the four. You know, that's unusual enough. How many cello concerti have 4 movements, where the fourth movement is the biggest movement by a considerable margin, is almost half the length of the whole piece. That's interesting to ponder, just why he would do such a thing. You know, but it takes him time to work through this stuff and then to bring it back at the end. You know, there's something cathartic about this music. You know, I always felt. But anyway, it's all interesting. It's all interesting conjecture. But I think, you know, we spend a lot of time with lots of technical details on the instrument, and that's all important and everything. But I think we should spend time, of course, not maybe we all do, I don't know, but just in terms of the content of what we're playing and what its possible meaning is. You know, and we'll never really know, right? But we can at least ask ourselves those questions and think about it. You wanted to say something?
Can I ask you one more
Of course,
quick
of course.
question? It's like yes or no. I've been really working very hard on letting go and not judging myself while I'm playing.
That's
and
very good.
being free and just
Good.
focusing and singing it in my head while I'm playing. And I just wanted to know if that came across to you, if it was glimpses or if it was.
No, I may not have worded it the way you said about singing in your head and all that, but I felt that you were there in the right way, and that's important. And you're absolutely right. You put your finger on a very important point. I think we should hear everything we do, and that's difficult. But we should try to continuously help, try to improve our ability to hear what we do. But when we perform, don't judge it. That we cannot do. We have to register it, we have to remember it, and then we can go back and work on it. But when we play, we listen and accept. The judging part is going to be for our practicing. Was that good or bad? How can I make it different? What should I do? blah, blah, blah. Not for playing, not to sit there and judge. That's not the time to do it. You're absolutely right. Because that's negative thinking, and that will have negative consequences. It always will. You can count on it. You know, for those things, we can rest assured that they will always be true. However, we have to hear. And somewhere, hopefully remember. Go back and think, yes, I need to practice that. Okay, good. And then be patient with yourself and be accepting. Because a little change is already good. You know, I've had experience with people, you know, that, let's say, all their lives they've played a certain way, we touch on something, you know, oh, okay. Then they have a concert that night. How did it go? I did the same thing again. Well, what do you expect? You've been doing this for 17 years, and you expect it to change overnight. Was it a little bit better? Well, good.
Yeah.
Keep going. Feed the brain, feed the body, feed the soul. Things will change in time. You know, Rome was not built in a day. You know, and that's important. I know that sounds like sort of nickel and dime psychology, but it's important. We have to understand those things. If you felt a little difference already, you should be happy. You know? Anyway, I guess we have to think about wrapping up. Well, this man I want to thank for inviting me and making this happen.
For being so wise.
You know, getting older is not a lot of fun. But if we know
But you
a
make it
little
fun.
bit,
You make it fun.
well, we try to enjoy it, you know, but if we learn a few things along the way and are able to, you know, give back something, then getting older is not all bad, you know. But just enjoy.
It was very enjoyable.
Well,
Thank you both of you for sharing your time.
thank you. We had a great time here. Unfortunately, it's time to depart. And then
Where are you off to next?
we both have to get up at the crack of dawn. I have to leave at about 4:45 tomorrow morning on my way to Seoul. And she's taking a flight to Seoul, but we're not even taking the same flight. That was kind of dumb, but it happened that way for lots of reasons.
Do you mind?
Not at all.
Can we have
Let's do it. Don't trip there. Don't trip there.
Thank you. School also recorded, so it's a moment I will put this up. This class.
Yeah, my teacher wants.
And I'm sorry.
They say it was free. Well, we did, sorry.
Did you know?
Well, it was great.
Hi, Alex. How are you? Exhausted. Huh? Exhausted.
Alex, thank you for making it.
Good luck to you all. Take care.
So I didn't know it was like.
We can pull it down.
No, I saw it in video and then I see it.
Okay, yeah.
So there's a video because I'd like to record the review.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's up.
Nice to see you again. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, of course. Would you